Hey y'all, I'm back again with another Pokemon challenge video. I decided to kick it old school with this one, with one of my all-time favorite Pokemon, and ultimately see what it's like to beat Pokemon Red using only a Porygon. As usual, the rules are, I can only use Porygon in battle, and I can't use any items in battle. Also, no glitches or exploits, so I can't use the missing no glitch to get infinite rare candies or anything like that. By the way, if you like this kind of content and want to see more, be sure to subscribe and check out more of the videos on my channel. Now, Porygon itself has got pretty decent stats for an unevolved Pokemon. Its level up moveset is limited, but there are some strong moves it can learn by TM. I expect Porygon will do well, although I'm worried about it being outsped during important battles, like the Elite Four Ghost Trainer Agatha, since she likes to spam moves like Hypnosis and Dream Eater. For anyone that's interested, I am actually not playing this on a ROM file, and instead, I'm playing it on an actual Pokemon Red cartridge with the Porygon patched in. Also, for the sake of saving time, I'm playing the game at 4 times speed, because I'm an adult and I have a job. I can do all of this by playing the game on a Hyperkin Retron 5, which I love, and this is not a sponsorship, I'm just a big fan. I used the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to replace Charmander with Porygon so that our rival will pick Squirtle. I'm thinking Blastoise will be the hardest for Porygon to handle just because of how bulky it is. I should also mention that I nicknamed my Porygon Lorelei. That way people in the comments can argue about how it's pronounced. After receiving Porygon from Professor Oak, we have our first Pokemon battle with our rival Bubs. If you don't get the reference, check out my last Pokemon challenge video with Teddy Ursa. Porygon starts off with an okay moveset, Tackle's pretty weak, but the same type attack boost from Porygon being a normal type does help a little bit. Conversion changes Porygon to the target's type, so it isn't all that helpful. However, Sharpen is a great move for Porygon. It raises attack by 1 stage, giving Porygon a much needed boost. You might be thinking a move like Swords Dance, which raises attack by 2 stages, might be better, but later on we'll find out that Sharpen only raising its attack by 1 stage is actually pretty useful. Like in most playthroughs, the first rival battle is basically just I tackle you, you tackle me, not much to see there. The second rival battle, it goes about the same, although now the rival has a Pidgey that likes to use Sand Attack, so really it's just a matter of making sure that you can knock it out before it lowers your accuracy by too much, and you should just be able to tackle for a win. After beating the rival a second time, we traverse Viridian Forest and head off to Pewter City. Now, if you grew up with Charmander as your starter, you might remember the fight with Brock being very long and drawn out. His Rock-type Pokemon take little damage from resisted tackles and scratches. Porygon runs into the same issue since its only damaging move is the normal-type Tackle. Also, since they resist our attacks but we do not resist theirs, it's not too long before Porygon gets knocked out. However, this is where it turns out I was totally wrong about conversion. The best strategy here against Brock actually is to use conversion on the very first turn against Geodude, which turns Porygon into a Rock type. This means that Porygon will resist all of Brock's Pokemon's attacks. Otherwise, like I mentioned before, they just do too much damage before you're able to do anything, especially with Onix constantly spamming Screech to lower Porygon's defense by 2 stages. However, after setting up conversion, use Sharpen 6 times to max out your attack, and then dodge Bide from Onix, and it's really not that difficult, although a bit tedious. Now with the Boulder Badge in hand, it's off to Cerulean City. While in Mount Moon, this random Team Rocket Grunt with Eradicate did crit me with Hyper Fang to actually knock out Porygon, for the first time in the whole playthrough. Also, I chose the Dome Fossil, because Helix is stupid and you can't convince me otherwise. Now in Cerulean City, we take on our rival once again, but now his Pidgey is a Pidgeotto. Not only is it thicker than a Snicker, it also takes little damage from Tackle. Sadly, the best strategy here is to set up a couple of Sharpens and just pray that Porygon dodges Sand Attack. Once the Pidgeotto goes down, make sure to get the rest of your 6 Sharpens on his Abra setup, since it can only use Teleport, which does nothing. Then it's down to just knocking out the rest of his Pokemon before you yourself get knocked out in return, which isn't that hard. After defeating the rival, it's off to face the gym leader Misty. From experience, I happen to know that her Staryu and Starmie don't really do an awful lot, and not because they're bad Pokemon, mostly just because Misty wastes time going for things like using X-Defense and tackles that don't do very much damage. It's becoming clear to me the more we play that while Porygon isn't very strong, it's decently bulky, and a lot of times the best strategy is to just set up 6 Sharpens on whatever trainer you face as first Pokemon, and then tackle for the win. We do now have Psybeam, which is good special based damage, also Psychic type is great in Gen 1, but honestly, once you set up 6 Sharpens, even Misty Starmie really can't do anything in return. It has Bubble Beam, which does good damage, but it chooses to use Tackle for whatever reason, and we're able to knock it out in 2 hits. Also, Porygon learns Recover during this battle, so I get rid of Conversion, and now we can actually heal ourselves during battle, since items aren't allowed. Now off to the SS Sand to grab HM1 Cut, and on the way we have yet another battle with our rival Bubs. At this point, Porygon Psybeam is so strong because his Pokemon have low special, and anything else Tackle is able to take care of very easily. Now off to both my favorite and also least favorite gym in Kanto. Lieutenant Surge is my favorite gym leader by far, and Raichu is also my favorite Pokemon. But for God's sake, would you just look at how ridiculous this gym puzzle is? Now I know what you keyboard warriors are thinking. You're saying, oh, well once you find the first one, you always know where the second one is. Wrong! There is a random element to this, and even though technically the second switch should always be next to the first, sometimes it just isn't. I have to think Game Freak just didn't know how to code it properly, otherwise it just seems too cruel. Like seriously, do you see how much trash I had to look through before I found something worthwhile? Unintentional comparisons to Facebook aside, Lieutenant Surge himself is nothing special, and Porygon is able to easily knock out all of his Pokemon with Tackle after a single Sharpen. This gym's always a mixed bag for me, because I love seeing Raichu, but I hate what I have to do to it. With a Thunder Badge now in hand, our defense is also boosted by 12.5%. At this point, I notice that Porygon is getting pretty high leveled, so I try to stop battling any trainers that aren't absolutely mandatory. The level gap really became clear when I battled a rival at the Pokemon Tower in Lavender Town, and Porygon is 10 levels higher than his average Pokemon. I'm going to try and keep the levels low moving forward because I really want to test how good Porygon is rather than how much can I level it up. At this point I go straight to the Celadon City Gym to take on Erica. 2 of her 3 Pokemon are poison types, so Psybeam is really good here. However, Victory Bell is fast and has Sleep Powder and Wrap, and since it outspeeds Porygon, it can immobilize us, and a lot of times we don't even get to attack. I lost this battle many times, mostly because Victory Bell would either put us to sleep or get us in a Wrap Lock and we would get knocked out before we actually got to do anything. However, if you can knock out Victory Bell, it's really easy to take care of Tangela and Vileplume, usually able to clean up the battle with 2 Psybeams on each, and now with Rainbow Badge in hand, I head off to the Rocket Game Corner. I dodge as many Team Rocket grunts as possible, and then take on Giovanni to win the Silph Scope. Psybeam makes short work of all of his Pokemon, which have pretty low special stats. His Kangaskhan could actually do some damage, but instead it wastes time by going for Rage, which is a terrible move. It should be no surprise to anyone that Koga was an absolute pushover. Psybeam does huge damage to all of his Poison-type Pokemon, and he wastes time by going for weak moves like Smog. If his Weezing had gone for something like Self-Destruct, it could have actually been a problem, but instead I beat this one on the very first attempt, and we win ourselves the Fuchsia City Gym Badge. Now off to Saffron City. Once there, I go straight to the Silph Company building to take on Team Rocket and Giovanni. I avoid as many trainers as possible before having another rival battle with Bubs. At this point though, Porygon has learned Tri-Attack, which is a significant upgrade from Tackle. Now rather than having to set up all my Sharpens and using Tackle, I can set up a couple, use a Tri-Attack, bada bing, bada boom, knock out his Blastoise, Capicola, Bob's your uncle, we bop Bubs, and now it's off to Giovanni. Actually, to my surprise, this time Giovanni puts up a real fight, and we have to try this one many times. Nah, I'm kidding, this was easier than before. His Pokemon are at a higher level, but now he has a Nidorino and a Nidoqueen, both of which take huge damage from Psybeam because they're part Poison type. Well, that was easy. Now I'm off to the Saffron City Gym to take on the gym leader Sabrina. I cue the gym leader music as soon as I enter the building, because honestly her stupid warp puzzle is the real gym challenge. If it looks like I know exactly where to go in here, it's definitely not because I was looking at a walkthrough, and definitely not because I was taking the minimum route possible to avoid trainers. Once I actually get to Sabrina, it's really just a matter of having the thumb strength to press the A button repeatedly. Her Psychic type Pokemon have really low defense, and so Tri-Attack does huge damage. I'm able to easily knock out all of her Pokemon after just one Sharpen. Her Alakazam does go for Reflect and is able to survive, but it just goes for Recover and then we knock it out the very next turn, and now we're off to Cinnabar Island. So here's the thing about Blaine. You might think being the 7th gym leader and having fully evolved Pokemon like Rapidash and Arcanine, he poses a challenge, but actually he's one of the easiest gym leaders, and he has notoriously bad AI. For reference, he'll randomly go for Super Potions in the middle of a turn rather than attacking, and his Arcanine, which does know Fire Blast, likes to go for Roar, which in Generation 1 during trainer battles does absolutely nothing. Free badge, y'all. The final gym leader, Giovanni, is not even worth talking about, so instead I'll mention what I alluded to earlier, which is the infamous badge boost glitch. You'll often see me using Sharpen, an attack boosting move, but then using Psybeam, a special move. That's because in Generation 1 games, the 12.5% boost you get to stats from the gym badges accidentally gets reapplied every time your Pokemon stats are modified, either up or down. So, Sharpen also boosts all of Porygon's other stats by 12.5%, including Special. This is why I said before that Sharpen is better than Swords Dance, because you can only set up 3 boosts with Swords Dance rather than 6. The rival fight immediately after Viridian City goes as smoothly as you might expect it to go, especially since he has basically the same Pokemon as before, just a little bit higher level. Despite the fact that I've been purposely avoiding any trainers that aren't mandatory, including the ones inside of the gyms. I'd also like to mention that at the beginning of the challenge I said I wouldn't be using any glitches or exploits, and you might think that the badge boost glitch, especially since it has glitch in its name, would count as a violation of the rules. However, this happens whether you want it to or not, since the opposing Pokemon can go for things like Leer, which will lower your defense, but also boost your defense by 12.5% as well as the rest of your stats. So it's pretty much baked into the game whether you want it to be there or not, so I decided to just take advantage of it sparingly. Now it's time for the Elite Four, and first up it's the match of the century, Porygon versus Lorelei. She leads off with Dugong, which is an easy Pokemon to set up on since its best move is Aurora Beam. Aurora Beam also has a chance to lower our attack stat, which will trigger the badge boost glitch to boost the rest of our stats by 12.5%. Growl isn't an issue since we can just raise our attack with Sharpen, and also Growl has the benefit of raising our other stats, also through the badge boost glitch. You can see what I mean when I say you can't really avoid it no matter what you do. Anyways, as usual, the best strategy here is just to set up as many Sharpens as you can, and then hit everything with Tri-Attack. I do accidentally waste a Psychic on Slowbro, which normally wouldn't matter, but it will come into play later. Next up is the Elite Four member Bruno. Most of his Pokemon are fighting type, except for his 2 Onix, and all of his Pokemon have pretty low special. Porygon is able to use Psychic to one-hit KO every Pokemon except for Machamp. However, it's at this point I realized that I have a huge problem on my hands. I've used most of my PP for Psychic by the end of the battle, and the next Elite Four member, Agatha, uses mostly Ghost-type Pokemon that I can't hit with Tri-Attack. Don't really have PP restoring items in my bag, so I'm just going to try to do my best to see how far I can get, and get as much information as possible. Once I'm in the battle with Agatha, I realize right away that this is just not going to work. Sometimes I might be able to squeeze by, but it's very inconsistent. Her Gengar are faster than Porygon, and they go for Hypnosis and Confuse Ray, and a lot of times Porygon either runs out of moves, or hits itself in confusion, or gets Dream Eatered into Oblivion. I tried this one several times, hoping for a crit, seeing if Sharpen will boost our special enough to take out the Ghost-type Pokemon with 1 Psychic each, but it's just not working, and eventually I admit defeat, and go off to get more PP restoring items that are hidden throughout the game. Now I'm back with plenty of ethers and elixirs, and also a few more levels to boot. This time, it all comes down to whether or not Porygon is strong enough to take out Agatha's Ghost-type Pokemon before being confused or put to sleep. This time, Psychic is more than strong enough to get the job done. Her final Gengar did manage to outspeed and survive our Psychic, but luckily it didn't go for Hypnosis on this attempt, and we were able to get the win. I tried this one at various levels, and in my opinion, level 67 is the minimum level required to make Agatha consistent, where you win at least as many times as you lose. After that concerted effort, it's time for Lance the Dragon Master. Although I'm so confident at this point, I decided not to even restore PP after my win against Agatha. And for the record, I don't save between Elite Four attempts just because I want to conserve elixirs and ethers in the event that I have to start over. This one is a tale as old as time, where you set up Sharpen and OHKO everything with Tri-Attack or Psychic. Now it's time to take on the champion, Bubs. Porygon is at the perfect level for this, so I use all my PP ups, a max elixir, and a full restore. If I think that I could do this with just a few more levels, then maybe I'll use some rare candies, but for this attempt I just go in at level 69. Bubs leads off with Pidgeot, and I decide it's a perfect opportunity to set up with Sharpen. The worst case scenario is actually that Pidgeot goes for Sky Attack, but in this attempt, he wastes time by going for Mirror Move on my Sharpens. Since Pidgeot no longer has Sand Attack, there's really nothing to stop Porygon from setting up fully and just taking out all of his Pokemon. Either Tri-Attack or Psychic are a one-hit KO. Ironically, the only thing that can stop you is getting a critical hit, since in Gen 1, critical hits ignore your stat boosts. And with that, we beat our rival Bubs to become the Elite Four champion with just one Porygon. Man, that was a lot of fun. In hindsight, I could have been a lower level to beat the champion if not for the levels required to make the Agatha battle more consistent. Regardless, I had so much fun doing this challenge run, and I can't wait to do another. Speaking of which, if you like this video and you want to see more, be sure to click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you'll know right away when the next video drops. That's the end for now.